It's Dorothy Guining with Scrapbooking Quebec. Today I'm here for the Scrapbook Nerd online shop, and I'm going to be creating a quick and easy 12 by 12 layout featuring a mixed bag of products. Again, and I say that because I did this in my very last process video. My plan is to create my own collection using this ephemera pack as my jumping off point. It was designed by Vicky Pepeouanou, and she is a Greek mixed media artist for Stamperia. I love the colors and images, and the collection, it's called Create with Happiness, has stamps, paint, ephemera, and other products, but it doesn't have any paper. I bought it anyway, and I figured I would add my own. So let's jump right in and start creating a collection. So the first thing I want to do is show you this ephemera pack. It's absolutely gorgeous. Now I almost didn't buy it because there was nothing, like no paper to go with it, and I'm a 12 by 12 scrapbooker. But I love the images, especially the cat in the books. I love the rich jewel tones. And I particularly love the fact that there were no white edges around the ephemera pieces. So I bought it anyway. And now what I'm going to do is bring in some paper. So I have that white cardstock from Basil. I'm also going to bring in some wood grain paper. This is basically a staple in my stash. It's from Simple Stories. And I'm going through the wood grains. I end up deciding to pick that kind of medium dark brown. They all would have went, but that's the one I go with. For printed paper, I was looking for something that had that distressed vintage look. So I brought out the solids pack from 49 and Market from their Curator's Meadow collection. I select the red and the green. I'm flipping now through a 6 by 8 collection for that very same 49 and Market collection. I bring in this off-white piece. Anyway, I do want to point out I don't end up using all of this, but when I create a collection, I kind of bring in my options. I have some alphas from Vicky Boutin, some word dies as well, basically title options. I have that envelope die from Tim Holtz, and I also have a Tim Holtz stamp called Faded Type. So now I'm showing you off camera, I prepared my frame style foundation with 3 sheets of paper, and I gutted 2 of them. There is a tutorial on my channel where I explain how to do that, so that will be listed below. I'm going to show you here I have a bunch of scraps of paper. I have the paper that I gutted from behind the foundation page, plus a little bit more, and I do have my photos there as well. They are not matted, they are 5 by 3.5, along with a wallet size photo. You'll see that in a minute. I also want to apologize. My tripod is a little wonky today, so things look a little bit off. Anyway, hopefully it will be fixed by my next video. I'm showing you the basket here. Those are, I should say, the tools that I plan to use in this video. I don't use them all, but I do end up using quite a few of them. The first thing I want to do is create some photo mats. So for the larger photo, my focal point, I'm going to create a layered photo mat. I'm starting with this wood grain paper, and I'm cutting it at 1/4 inch wider than the photo. I'm going to adhere my photo down right away, and then what I'm going to do is just tear the bottom. So it's nice and equal around the top 3 sides, but at the bottom there, I am going to make the mat go a little bit longer, and I'm just going to tear it. So I'm just going to kind of create a little bit of a messy look here today. Now I'm going to work on the next layer, and I'm going to work with the red paper. This one I cut at 4.5 inches, and then what I am going to do is just place it behind that photo with the wood grain paper. Decide how big I want it. Basically, I want it to exceed the top of that wood grain mat, and I want it to exceed the bottom of that wood grain mat. So then I tore the bottom, and I'm doing the same thing with the green paper, and again, I cut it at 4.5 inches wide. I will put measurements for all of this on the screen a little bit later on, but basically that's what I'm doing. And for the complementary photo, I'm just cutting a classic photo mat at 1/4 inch larger than the photo, and I did that in the wood grain paper. So you can see here I'm adhering already the mat to that wallet size photo, but for the focal point, basically the photo is already adhered to the wood grain mat. But for the bottom 2 layers, what I'm doing is I'm adhering them together, the red and green, but I'm going to keep that piece separate from the photo and the wood grain for the time being, because a little bit later on I am going to want to create a pocket for hidden journaling within those layers. Now what I'm going to do is place these pieces on my page. It's going to be kind of a top right heavy layout. And before adhering though, what I want to do is some stamping. And before I do my stamping, I'm just going to take a pencil. I am going to draw around my photos and the mats, and that's going to give me an idea where to stamp. You'll see what I mean in a moment, because I kind of want to stamp a mat underneath these photos. And when I do my stamping, I want to make sure that you can see it. I don't want it entirely to be covered up with my photos. So I'm bringing out this stamp set. It's called Faded Type from Tim Holtz, and I have my ink there from Stampin' Up. It's soft suede. And what I am going to do is kind of stamp around. So I'm using that pencil drawn line as my guide, just to make sure that the mat that I'm stamping just kind of peeks out beyond that. When I'm stamping twice before re-inking. So what that's doing is giving me kind of two different colors of ink. Now this stamp set is no longer in the shop. It's quite old actually. There is another stamp set in the shop that's very similar to this one, and it's actually part of this Create with Happiness collection. So I'm going to list this stamp set in the description box, the one I'm using, but I'm also going to list the other one in case it interests you. Now what I want to do is create a tag and a pocket to put behind my focal point photo, and that's where my journaling is going to go. I have a die set from Elizabeth Craft Designs. This one has different tags and different tag toppers. Again, I will list this one in the description box below. I'm not sure if it's available at the moment in the shop. You can always press the notify me button, but I also want to point out there are a bunch of dies in the shop for tags. So if you like tags, you may want to check that out. I happen to love tags. So you can see here, I created a tag and a little tag topper. I adhered them both together. Now I want to create a pocket. So what I'm doing is I place the tag where I want it to be, and now I'm taking this Terran tape and I'm just basically putting the tape around the tag, making sure I add a little bit of space. I don't want the tag to be too tight in there. And once I have the placement down with that tape, I'm going to just tape this piece of scrap paper behind it. It's blue, but it doesn't show. Basically, I grabbed a piece of scrap cardstock that was nearby and just put it and just use that as my pocket. Again, you can't see it. So I adhered it behind that wood grain paper, and now I could adhere that photo with the wood grain paper and now the pocket on top of those two other layers, the red and the green. So before continuing, I'm just taking an eraser and erasing my pencil drawn lines. And now what I'm doing is adhering my photo with all of those layers and the hidden journaling pocket to the page. And I will do the very same thing with that complimentary wallet size photo. Now I'm all ready to do my embellishing. This is a pretty quick and easy layout actually. So I'm going to get out that tray here, and that's where all of my embellishing is. That is basically just the ephemera pack. And what I plan to do is create two embellishment clusters. One there in the top right, that is going to be my main one, and another one in the bottom left. So you can see at the top right, I started with that suitcase pack. Then I added the books in the bottom right along with that cat. And now I'm just adding a few more pieces at the top, those flowers. I add another flower on top of that pile of books at the bottom. And I have some little leaf bunches as well that I'm tucking in and around that cluster at the top. That tag at the top as well, even though it's going to be my journaling, also serves as an embellishment piece, and it kind of makes that cluster a bit bigger. Now these ephemera pieces are supposed to be self-adhesive, and I start with the books and it comes off very, very easily, and then suddenly with the cat I'm having trouble. Same thing here with the suitcases at the top. So I end up turning off my camera because it is the first time I'm using this project, and I try to figure out what's happening or if there is a trick to removing the adhesive, and basically I concluded some of them came off and others didn't. Now I have to point out I am a little bit impatient when it comes to products that don't work quickly for me, so I probably could have given it a bit more time. Anyway, I do want to point that out. I had trouble with a few of those pieces. But in the end, I end up adding some foam adhesive. So I do that with that cat at the bottom. I do it with some of the flowers at the top. And I do want to point out as well, you're going to notice that cat at the bottom does get switched up for a smaller cat at the very, very end. So I'm coming in here with the main pieces. I decide at this point to leave the leaves loose for the time being because I don't have a title yet. I'm almost finished here, but I definitely want to add a title. Now, if you recall, at the beginning when I was creating this kit, I brought in some alphas from Vicki Boutin. I brought in some word dies from my stash. But I like the way the page is looking now, and I don't want there to be a big title. So I ended up getting the ephemera pack from that 49 and Market Curator's Meadow collection because I figured the colors and the mood and feel went with it. And sure enough, I found this little circle there that says Priceless Memories, which is exactly something I want to document behind that photo there, that hidden journaling. So I decide to use that. I end up popping it up on foam adhesive just to make it a bit more title worthy. And now I'm adding a few more leaves, just a few more finishing touches there in that top right corner. So I do have a few finishing touches here. I end up getting out some enamel dots, and eventually that's what I put on that title at the top of the page in the little tag hole. But for the tag there, I do add some twine. That twine is from Lawn Fawn. And now I'm just looking for a color of an enamel dot that I like, and I end up going with the green. And basically everything is done here. So off camera, I ruffled up the torn edges a bit with my fingernail of those torn pieces of paper, and I replaced that cat ephemera piece at the bottom with a smaller cat. I just wanted to make that embellishment cluster a little bit smaller than the one at the top. Fun fact, I was able to remove the bigger cat without ripping it. I'm happy about that because I really liked it. And the one beneath it, I didn't rip it either, those books. I hope I inspired you to create a collection using something maybe offbeat as a jumping off point. Personally, I am so glad I took the leap of faith and bought this ephemera pack that caught my eye, even though there was no paper to go with it. I discovered a new fun product, and I used up some of my stash as well. There are other Stamperia products in the Scrapbook Nerd online shop, so you might want to check that out as well, and they are in different color palettes. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd greatly appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the Scrapbook Nerd YouTube channel, we would be thrilled if you did. The same thing for my channel, Scrapbooking Quebec. Don't forget to check out the Scrapbook Nerd online shops for these fun supplies that I used here today and lots more. In December, I am wishing you joy, even if it's just a little bit each day throughout this holiday season. Take care, and I will see you soon on YouTube. Bye-bye.